The truth is, sometimes we get comfortable with the ordinary, sitting inside the lines others have drawn for us, when there is an entire blank canvas of a world waiting for us to trust fall into solutions to questions not even asked yet, to rise, revise, and recognize that remarkable is not only possible, but it is necessary. It is the result of daring to imagine beyond this partition of parameters, always onwards, upwards, and forwards, towards the whys of ideas redefined, the what-ifs of partnerships, the how can we improve this. This is more than a common belief that in order to succeed, we must always see details 3 steps ahead. This is not about spotting market trends or hopping on bandwagons, because many others have been there, and quite frankly, so have we. But we are also about people. Shuruq, the right fit in the right place, like perfectly timed happenings matching skills with partners already found, where the sum of parts can create platforms only teamwork lets you reach. No, not you, us, plural, collective, a home field advantage, expertise meeting the opportunity of what we did, are doing, and will do, investing in holding open doors wide enough for impact to walk through. So we continue being the outlier, the deviation, the above and beyond expectation, the ones uncomfortable with being ordinary. Today is the day. Join Shuruq Partners.
Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of your weekly Founders Crushin' It in 2022, where every Wednesday at 7 p.m. GST, we go live on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube and grab a conversation with one of the successful founders in our region and learn about the journey and the industry. If you're watching this through our social channels and media pages or on YouTube, remember to hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell, and follow us to get notified with all our news, events, and updates, and to make sure to see all the series of Founders Crushin' It in 2022. This show is brought to you by Shuruq Partners, the leading tech investor in the Middle East, North Africa, and Pakistan. And I am your host, Tariq Fouad, Head of Growth at Shuruq Partners, and I want to thank you all for tuning in from wherever you are. Today, we have the pleasure to host Vaibhav Doshi, the co-founder and CEO of Hafla. He is a McKinsey alum with 15 plus years of experience in strategy and investment banking, and he's on a mission to make people celebrate more by turning the strenuous exercise of planning an event into a walk in the park. Hafla is the world's first artificial intelligence-based event ideation, recommendation, and aggregated sourcing platform for venues, equipment, services, and catering. With 600 partners, 5,000 plus products and services, and 1,300 events delivered in the past quarter alone, catering to 100,000 plus attendees, their success is astonishing, and we are excited to have backed them early on. But before we dive into our chat, let us get to know Hafla. Vaibhav, thank you so much for joining us. What a great way to start the year by celebrating more. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, Tariq. Thank you for having me on the first show of this year. Very, very excited. First one in the year is very special, and I'm glad we start the year with Hafla.
Definitely. Let's have more Haflas this year. I would love to understand from you, first of all, if you could kind of introduce us to Hafla and where is this idea? Where did this idea generate from?
Absolutely, Tarek. So, but before I do that, Happy New Year to all the viewers around the world. I'm sure there are a lot of people watching this. 2022 should be a great year for each one of us. Now on to Hafla. So Hafla, the word is basically an Arabic word which means celebrations, parties, events, anything that good happens around you with a lot of people is basically Hafla. Where does Hafla comes in? So Hafla is a one-stop shop for anything you need for your event. Now, when I say anything that you need for your event, and Tarek, you briefly touched upon during the intro, but if I was to rephrase it, right, again, when anybody thinks of an event, will say, Tarek thinks of a birthday party, the center of it is the need or the idea of I need to do something. I need to do something which involves a lot of people, which has to be a lot of fun, which has to deliver a lot of memories. Now, the moment you think of it, right, you're essentially solving for four key elements. So the venue where you have to do the event, on that venue you need to bring setup, so furniture, equipment, decoration, props, and so on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the third thing is food and beverages. There is no party, no hafla without food. It cannot
Yeah,
happen.
I know people who come to the Hafla just for the food.
Absolutely right.
Forget the people.
And then the last one is entertainment, or anything which is delivered by individuals or a group of individuals, right? So think of something as simple as a clown at a kid's party, or a firework on 31st December, or security outside a large event, right? Now, as you solve for these four things together, event planning becomes extremely difficult, right? So this is why I always say we love to go to events, right? The moment somebody invites us, we're very happy. If somebody tells us, hey, you need to plan an event, we're like, oh my god, I don't want to do this, right? Or there are very few people who get a kick out of this. And it's funny, and I actually did not know this till I started to research myself. But event planner is one of the 10 most stressful jobs in US, by and consistently ranked there, right? So when you
Interesting.
look at all of this, right, you realize that look, it's a very glamorous job from outside, but the moment you
Mm,
put your hands into that, it's not easy, right?
yeah.
And with the all the pieces that you're solving for, the number of phone calls you make, the number of WhatsApp messages you make, right? And as the day of event comes in, it becomes crazier and crazier, right? And this is what really hit us to say, look, events should be fun, right? They should be, the reason you do an event is fun and memories. You should not be like a pendulum between excitement on one hand and then stress on the other, right? And keep moving. You should stay on the excitement part, but to do that, you need some force to hold you there, right? And that force is
Yeah.
hafla. And in
Amazing.
if I bring
It's a
physics in there,
beautiful
your hafla is
analogy.
holding you
Yeah.
on the exciting part and not letting you go on the stress part. Now, how do we do that? Is Hafla is a one-stop shop, and it's an omni-channel shop. Like, so you can either book things online, but if you want to speak to somebody, you can call or WhatsApp or message, right? But the objective is that you have one entity, right, that you talk to solve everything you need for your event. And that today doesn't exist. This is what Hafla has created. This is what our dream is, to say, look, you make it so easy, make it so easy, almost like ordering food on delivery or Talabat or Zomato, that people ultimately celebrate more. That's what really Hafla is about.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I mean, it goes without saying. I think anybody that created an event knew how difficult it is to actually think about all the little details. And chances are, even by after thinking all the details, there will always be somebody that is not necessarily happy with the event. So
Absolutely.
to enable people to take that stress out of their minds and to utilize something like Hafla to create memories, as he said, which is the bottom line idea behind celebrations in general. Is a value proposition that everybody understands in a sense. So I wanted to kind of I'm interested in understanding the backgrounds of Hafla. So it, I remember seeing you. What was it, back in
17, 18.
2016? Yeah, 17. Yeah. It was Rancher. You were on to something actually as well, very amazing. And I think the Hafla was some form of a baby child of Rancher in a sense. Give us a bit more context of what happened there, and how did the event industry actually appeal to you?
Absolutely. So, Tarek, my previous venture, Rentshare, it did not start from an event industry lens, right? It was more, the idea was to rent anything and everything that people need, more on the lines of sharing economy. As we launched here, we realized that a lot of equipment rentals was going into the event industry. So sort of we doubled down on that, and things were looking good. We were doing good number of events, and then came in COVID, and as COVID came in, all of us were locked down at our homes, and obviously events were the first one to stop, the last one to start, right? So that gave me a long window to think, actually, look, what do I do now, right? As a founder, what do you do? As a professional, what do you do? There is a good amount of learning. There are people who've backed you. There is some, there are team members behind us. But
Mm,
what do you do with all of this, right? Do you call it quit, or do you try and do something out of it, right? And this is when, looking across multiple options, something that hit me was the fact that we were solving a wrong problem, but probably on the right industry, right? So we were operating more on the events, but the problem we were solving was just a small problem of rental equipment, right? And the realization was that, look, when somebody thinks of an event, right, you don't think of rentals. You think of the event as a whole, right? So if I am
that's
planning my
correct.
son's birthday party, the first question that comes to my mind is not what am I going to rent for his party. The question that comes to my mind is, look, what am I doing for his party, right? Where am I supposed to
Mm,
do it? What theme can I do it? How much money I need to spend? Somewhere in that process may come a question of rentals, or may not at all come, right? I might decide to do this at a soft play area, and then I don't need to rent anything. So I realized that, look, the problem to solve is the event itself, and this is when the whole framework of the venue, setup, food, and people came in, and this is the genesis of Hafla, right? So it comes a little bit from the learnings from Rentshare, but there's a
mm,
lot more that goes in, and then obviously, coming from a consulting research background, right, you start to look into the market size and where the money goes, and you realize that, look, bulk of the money actually goes into venue booking, into catering, into entertainment, and rental is a small part of that, right? So that
mm.
learning helps us, but there's a lot more that Hafla needs to do.
Great. Well, hold this thought, vibe off. I want to make sure that whoever is watching us today, please make sure that you write down your questions. If you have questions for Shuruk Partners or for Vibuff and Hafla, and would like to have, grab Vibuff's, pick his brains on certain things related to your own startup or to your own journey as a founder, please jot them down in the comments below. We will receive them and we'll make sure that we answer them by the end of this chat. Vibuff, uh, you were one of the very few that I've seen that have done a beautiful job in transitioning from one idea to another, spinning off from one idea to another and getting Hafla up to speed to where Rentshare has been a couple of years ago, right? Usually, most startups and most founders kind of fail to do a very clean transition, right? I would love if you could share some of the learnings of what you've learned in that transition. What made it a clean transition, like what we've experienced and seen with you, and how did you kind of brought in the confidence of your current investors, or the investors you had with Venture, and along with the current ones and the new ones?
Absolutely. So Tarek, I would say, it definitely, you can call it a clean transition, right? But there has been a lot of effort behind it. especially in terms of communicating with the set of investors on, look, why Rentshare had to stop, right, and why Hafla makes sense, and what learning from Rentshare will be relevant going into Hafla, but also how Hafla is different, right? And I think it took a lot of effort behind the scenes to sort of communicate the transition, but then also get people's blessings, right, in terms of the bigger vision of Hafla. Because remember, when people invested 5 years back, the story was very different. Events
Mm.
was not even in the picture, right? You're looking at a sharing economy business that you're creating, and suddenly they go and say, look, it's not about sharing economy anymore. We've learned and we've evolved, right? And this is what we want to do next. And getting people's belief to say, look, why will this work, right? Why will this work better than what you thought of 4 or 5 years ago, is never easy. But I guess what ultimately, whether it's investors and also the team, right? It's not just the investors, but also the team who was with me at Rentshare, right? For them to see and believe in Hafla, because without them, none of this can happen, right? So for them to also see and believe took a lot of communication of the bigger vision and the opportunity which lies out there, and why we are the right group of people to solve it. I think, if you sort of transparently put your cards on the table, get the big picture, the big vision out, most people will come and support you.
So the two words I've or the three words I've heard there was communication, and probably kind of over communicating internally and externally, making sure that you have a team that is willing to back the vision, back the founders, are in it in the long haul, kind of attracting the right talent right from the beginning, and then finally just kind of working hard and being transparent all the way, right?
Absolutely,
So
absolutely. And I think, I also have lessons learned there, right? So there are things I could have done differently in hindsight. Like, I could have communicated better. I could have been more structured in the communication. But these are all the learnings you pick that will help eventually in the coming journey of Hafla. Right? So I won't say that there has been no learning in this whole transition. There has been ups and
yeah.
downs as well, but that's part of the journey.
What would be maybe one I would say, if you want to call it a learning or a mistake that you've done that you wished you didn't, and you would you're openly happy to share it with all the founders that are out there.
This is coming from during my days at Rentshare, or
And no, in general, it doesn't have
in
to be
general?
in
Yeah,
Rich.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, so I would say, look, so it's funny, and I'll show it to you sometime in person. But I have a running list of mistakes that I made at Rentshare, and the last count is close to 80 now, of big and small errors that I've done. But I guess, look, the biggest
That's
one,
actually a beautiful exercise, and it
yeah.
just shows, it also it's you can go back to that list to see if you've actually learned some of these mistakes, or are you still making them.
So I'll tell you a secret. See,
Lovely.
someday I hope to write a book out of it. Okay, but I'm not done with it yet in terms of the thinking. So every time I realize that, look, this is a mistake that I made 2 years back, I'd go into the Excel sheet, I'll add it there, right, and park it there, right. But actually, look, the biggest one I would say was not assembling the right team early on at Rentshare, right? And
Hmm.
Shuruk backed us at Rentshare also, and it's almost funny that the first check I got at Rentshare was actually bigger than the first check I got at Hafla, right? But then the quality of people that we hired and how aggressively we went about hiring the team at Hafla is way different than what we did at Rentshare, right? And that sort of made the difference, because then you get into the flywheel, you get the right kind of people, you automatically start to get more ideas that forces you to go out and raise more money, build the right product, and then the wheel continues, right? I think we were slower in triggering that wheel at Rentshare. That was probably the
I
biggest mistake, and then there are many more.
Yeah.
When I hope, if and when I write the book, you'll see that. So
We'll actually dedicate an entire session for this, so then we can go together on all the
let's do that.
80 mistakes, and probably I'll shed some more on top of those myself. But I vouch for the team that you have. I think letting everybody know. I mean, Shuruk Partners had the ability to pull in a beautiful annual general meeting last year with the help of Hafla, an amazing team, very dedicated, hardworking. Stayed up to every single minute, to the last minute, to actually make things work. So we are blessed to have portfolio companies that are super amazing, and do exactly what they claim they do. And it would have not been an amazing event without your support and your team. So pat yourself on the back, and the team for this. So my next question, and thanks to obviously all our audience who's putting out comments and sharing them with us. Feel free to also throw in questions. We will be tapping into questions in the next few minutes if there are any. But I'm interested, Vibuff, in Hafla now has established a name in event management, and in our region as well. Coming in, where do you think Hafla's strengths really lie in this increasingly competitive landscape?
Absolutely. So Tarek, thanks for saying that we have established a name. If you ask me, I think we've just started, right? And there is a lot more to be done. There are millions of events happening every year. We're still touching only a few thousand, right? So, but what has allowed us to really do what we did in last 5 months, and going forward, the strengths, if you're asking it, is one is we started with a very clear vision, right? So the vision of saying, look, we want to enable people to celebrate more, and how we do this. So the why was very clear, and the how behind the scenes has also been very clear, that it's a combination of the right kind of people and the right kind of technology, right, that we need to bring, and the right kind of partners. So if you look at this combination and the focus on customer service, we have the biggest supply in town by the way now. So today, with 5,000 plus products that are on our website, I don't think anybody can match what we have already, right? And in addition to that, we have a range of exclusive products that we create by combining services from different partners that is nowhere available nowhere else other than Hafla. And that said, along with that, the UI UX that we build and which will keep evolving, right? So combination of these things today already exists. Now, what other strength are we building going forward is a little bit also on the non-traditional supply, right? So today, if you were to think of venues, right, even when we did Shuruk's AGM, right, the venues we could think of were hotels and banquet halls, right? But keep in mind that there is a lot of other non-traditional venues, right, that are available. So today we are talking to somebody like a gem school, right, and looking at their 40 schools and all the assets within those 40 schools, right, the swimming pools, the terraces, the gardens, right. Also think of individuals who are able to do event services in part time, right? So bakers, musicians, and so on. So the other strength that we are bringing on, which doesn't exist with anybody else, is this non-traditional supply brought in and packaged and quality controlled by Hafla, right? Which becomes bookable. And this is almost like what Airbnb did to sort of to stays, right? Is what you do to events, combining with the traditional supply, and then all in a nice UI UX, very easy for customer to move on, supported by a great team, right? So these are layers of strength built on each other. It's not one thing in particular that gets us excited about what we can deliver.
Got it. And I mean, from looking at the event management space, I would say this is an industry that it's still very manual, very pen and paper driven, Excel sheets upon Excel sheets, nothing that is tech based per se. And it seems that Hafla is building this infrastructure that is enabling that to scale. Maybe shed some light on what is that tech infrastructure looking like? How does it support multiple preferences and personalities and personalized events in the same time?
100%. So if you look at the event industry, right, there are so many players, Tariq, and funnily enough, almost everybody still operates on a no tech basis, right? So when I say there are multiple players, of course there's the organizer who's planning the event. Now within this, it could be people like you and me doing personal events, but it could be also a corporate doing, Shuruk's AGM, for example, or it could be professional event planner, right? So this is the organizer group. But in addition to this, you have all the industry providers, right? And that's a wide spectrum. So think of the likes of Fairmont or Ritz-Carlton, sophisticated five-star venues at one end, and then think of a clown for a kids party at the other end, right? And this whole spectrum, but almost everybody is operating still on Excel sheets and notepads, right? And when you look at these two sides of the equation, right? So organizers on one side, provider on the other side, Hafla's infrastructure is the marriage of these two. So essentially a two-sided marketplace that is giving you the right sort of tools and the insights for tailored to each one, right? So think of a supplier who rents furniture, right? How can I bring in right from cataloging to inventory management to order management, right? All the modules that are easy to use and on a mobile handset, right? Because these guys are out in the field. If you give them a complicated, high bandwidth demanding setup, right, which needs a laptop, they will never use it, right? So now that we've worked with them for multiple years, we know what they need. At the same side, think of a customer and think again of my own example, right? So if it's my son's 10th birthday, and I say, hey, I got 2,000 dirhams to spend, right? And it's a boy and 10th birthday. Tell me, what can I do, right? And what can I do with entire supply in Dubai, right? So the infrastructure on this side is a combination of a strong recommendation engine that sort of filters the whole supply in the town you live in, assesses which month is the event coming in, whether it's summer, whether it's winter. So gets you the right sort of products and matches you to the right sort of provider. And then this provider on their fingertips can manage the entire order, right? So, and this is in very simple terms, there are a lot more nuances that happen in the industry. There is, for example, dynamic pricing, right? Think of a DJ, the DJ is charging 4 times the price on 31st December compared to what they charge on July 15th, right? Now, how do you bring all of this information in real time and help people make decisions, right? So there's a lot of infrastructure process that you need to understand, map into the system. And thankfully, there's a lot of intelligence coming in now. So I'll give you one more example, and then I'll stop. Is a lot of times customers reach out to us, sending us a picture on WhatsApp, saying, "Hey, look, this is the setup I want." They've mostly taken it from Pinterest or Instagram, and they look, can you do this, right? Now, today the way it happens, Tarek, is you get this on a WhatsApp, right, and then we analyze the picture manually, and we say, look, yeah, okay, this seems like 100 balloons and 2 chairs and one table, and yeah, we think we can do this in this much price, right? But then in this process, the customer is waiting. Right? The world we are building for is, if you send me a picture in a couple of months, right, we should be able to already say, based on the setups that we have, which is the closest matching decor that I can do for you immediately. And not
Yeah.
one, but say, look, here are the three best matching to what you need. Here's the
Beautiful.
price. And if you still need a tailor-made one, here's somebody you can call up, right? But that really transforms the experience the way I have not done anybody doing it. Right? I've not seen even anybody in US or UK or Europe or India build this, right? So there's a lot going on when it comes to tech.
And I think you've touched upon some of these kind of changing behaviors when it comes to consumers using Hafla, and including your own suppliers in a sense. I would want to ask you one last question. If you were to describe Hafla, and this kind of is usually the ultimate question that we end this chat with. If you were to describe Hafla with one word, what would it be?
Can I take two, or it has to be one?
Yeah, try two, but
Okay.
preferably one.
Okay, if it's two, it makes my life easy. We always say celebrate more, right? And that's the purpose of Hafla. But if you really ask me to say one word, I would say joy. Right?
Celebrate. Joy.
Joy, and coming out of it, right? Because end of the day, joy, and it's not just for customers, right? Even when we the team at Hafla, if you ever come to our office, is full of joy, right? They're happy people all around, no matter what time of the day it is, what day of the week it is, right? There's joy in what we do, and there's joy in what we deliver, right? So if it's one word, then I would say it's joy.
Beautiful. And out of interest, do you see Hafla going down the line? And that's a controversial question. Going into things that are not Hafla, like the dark side of the world. If it was into funerals and events like these, right? That aren't necessarily claimed to be
Mhm.
Haflas, right? Um, and in it itself, it has a
Yeah.
tremendous amount of planning that needs to be done. Would be interesting to know your thoughts there. Have that idea lingered in the thoughts of Hafla's CEO?
So absolutely. Look, it has lingered, not only lingered, Tariq, we have enabled some of those events also, right? So while, obviously while the name Hafla is, all about celebrations and joy, a dark side remains. But look, if I was to get very philosophical, I would say that even a condolence meeting, right, is end of the day a celebration of somebody's life, right? And what he or she achieved in their
Yeah,
life, and
yeah,
what
that
they did.
that could
To
be
me,
seen in exactly.
you can always find, right, a positive angle to that. The name Hafla
Absolutely.
doesn't mean it's only about the good events. I
Beautiful.
sometimes
I
really
love it.
say, and I hope my wife is not listening to this, right? But I say that, when your mother-in-law is leaving the town, right? It's also a hafla, right? And when she's arriving, it's also a hafla. It's just for different people at the home, right? So look, jokes
That's true.
apart,
That's true.
yes, we've thought about those sites, and
Yeah.
end of the day, our vision is to make it easy for whoever needs to plan an event. The event could be for any reason, and as long as we do that, I think we're doing our job correct.
I love it. And by the way, this was an amazing chat. I really appreciate the time you've put and the energy that you've put with us today, Vaibhav, and continue to do so through Hafla. We're super proud to be working very closely with you and the team, and looking forward to a lot of events together in 2022. I just want to leave you with the movement that you've created with that list of mistakes. So we have Tariq Bilani said, "I love the list of mistakes. I will adopt the same."
Wow.
We have a user on LinkedIn. Interesting idea, writing down a list of mistakes to learn and reflect. So I think there are tons of more that would potentially would have come if we had more time. Nevertheless, Vaibhav, again, from myself and Shuruk, we really want to thank you again for coming and joining us today, and looking forward to seeing you very soon.
Thank you so much, Tariq, for the
Thank you,
opportunity,
Vaibhav.
and thank you everybody for listening in. Let's hafla. Bye bye.
That's Hafla. So everyone, with this, we come to an end to this week's Founders Crushing It. Thanks to Vaibhav Doshi and the Hafla team for making our first session this year something to celebrate and something to remember. Remember, guys. Follow us on our social media channels at shuruk.com, or at Shuruk Partners is our handles on social media. We also have, for everybody that might have not known, we have moved our domains from shuruk.ae to shuruk.com, so you can check our new website by visiting that today. Without further ado, looking forward to seeing you all next week. Stay tuned for more. Have a great day.